good over there, bud?
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. We got Jameson. We got Ty who's just throwing around his laptop, I guess. I don't know what's going on there, but we are back with another off-season podcast. Just hanging out, just shooting the shit, talking some good stuff. So, but thankfully, we were graced with some pretty interesting news. Let's just start out with our top line item. Last week, OU Athletics announced a new deal with ESPN Plus to essentially take what they've been doing with Valley Sports and Schooner Sports TV and integrate it in with ESPN Plus, which is, you may know as the thing that you bought for a Kansas South Dakota game and never forgot to get rid of, or you got it with your T-Mobile subscription or Verizon or whatever. But now you get to watch it. Now you get to watch all sorts of OU stuff there. A lot of basketball, a lot of women's basketball, a lot of the Olympic sports. But more importantly, it's the death of the pay-per-view. The one pay-per-view game will now be shown on ESPN Plus as well. So lots to dig into with that. Later down the line, we'll talk about some depth added to the OU quarterback room, a couple transfer portal notes. Just, I believe there's some stuff with the OU coaches caravan as well. But I've talked enough. Jameson, big news about that ESPN Plus deal. What was your reaction when you saw it, and what does that mean for the program?
I remember when ESPN Plus first came out, and you already referenced it, and I was like, who would pay for this? Who would actually pay for this program to watch these, off the wall, like random college games? I guess like people in like unique, fan, experiences. But then Bobby, what do you know, forgot about his subscription that he had the free trial for, which I never thought people would forget about their free trials and keep them running. Bobby had ESPN Plus before it was cool to have ESPN Plus. But honestly, it's grown a lot. It really has. I feel like there's so much that's going on there, and it's not too much, especially if you like bundle it. If you already have Hulu and Disney Plus, it's not going to be too much added on top of things. Definitely better than the Valley Sports Plus. What was that, like $50-something?
Garbage. It's just garbage. Valley's is trash.
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways to look at this. One, there's the idea that the OU games are going to continue to be broadcast normally, with the exception of that one game that's up to the schools per the Big 12's media rights to broadcast on their own. So in reality, if once again you don't check your subscriptions like Bobby, or if you're only using ESPN Plus for that game, if you're smart, then there still is a pay-per-view at $7 a month. But if you're not smart, then what they've done is they've tricked you from paying $50 or $60 per pay-per-view to a $70 a year subscription. So, but it's an exciting deal. It's an exciting deal because it puts OU on the forefront of disseminating our entertainment product, and also it puts us at the forefront of the most accessible way for our people to watch the game. Because if you're an OU fan, and I know this from when I lived on the East Coast, is sometimes, the old system was a little clunky. It would be so much easier. I know there's criticisms of the ESPN Plus apps, but just the accessibility of that worldwide for people to go on those apps and be able to watch OU games. And that's really what it's about. Actually, Joe Constiglione, when he was asked about it, said that this deal was about access and reach. And I think that is so important because I have the numbers right here. As of Q1 of this year, Disney, obviously ESPN's parent company, announced that ESPN Plus has around 21.5 million subscribers, which is really, really cool because obviously there's people signing up for it for a myriad of reasons. But if we just have it, it's that one OU game that is pay-per-view is on that app. We're not going to get people that aren't diehard OU fans paying an exorbitant price to watch a pay-per-view game. But if they already have ESPN Plus and they just notice that one OU pay-per-view game, which is still truly is pay-per-view, it's just a different sort of system on there, they might watch it. Or people that are just, skimming the app and notice it and want to watch it, or people that want to see the spring game or all the other products that are going to be on ESPN Plus. So I think it's an excellent move.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, you got to realize that a lot of people that are willing to pay that amount of money to watch a football game are probably already going to it if it's a home game, if they're within the area. So the pay-per-view, there were probably, my guess is not as many people as they probably could have gotten paying for that. So I mentioned earlier the Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus bundle. If you're already paying for Hulu and Disney Plus, like say like if you have kids or something like that, and that's $7.99 for Disney Plus. Hulu's $6.99, but the bundle is $13.99. So essentially, it's cheaper to bundle them all three and get ESPN Plus for free on top of those. So it's something to consider moving on into the season.
Yeah, it's going to be super easy to access, and it like what Ty said about Joe C saying it's about reach, it's about all that. No other school has this agreement with ESPN Plus, and weirdly enough, it's kind of, if you ask me, it doesn't pay the same as like the Longhorn Network, for example, but the ability to watch like classic games and OU specific content right there, it's actually accessible. I don't even know how the hell you can get Longhorn Network, really. Apparently that's been a massive issue even in Texas in terms of accessing it. So that's a plus. It's good for the brand. It just kind of solidifies OU and moves them forward as one of the premier athletic departments in college sports. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
You've seen a couple olds on Facebook being upset about having to pay for it, but honestly, this is a good thing. This is a really good thing, y'all.
They were going to pay for the pay-per-view anyways, which was what, like a ridiculous amount. What was it, like $60 or something, Bobby? Like $59.95 is like, and so you buy a month subscription of ESPN Plus, which is going to be what, like an eighth of that, and then you're going to like cancel it immediately after the game, and then you can watch 30 for 30s after that if you want to for a month and not have to pay for it. It's going to be cheaper in the long run. People that are getting angry about this are just not informed.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think a lot of people aren't thinking about is we classically, talk about that. I forget the year off the top. What was it? 2017 OU Army game where it was pay-per-view and the whole nation wanted to watch it, and everyone ended up watching it on that one guy's Twitch stream. So the important thing to know is being on ESPN Plus and being available to more people, even if you want to avoid that paywall, that one OU game that you can't watch is going to be more, I don't want to sound like I'm encouraging crime. I have never done that on this podcast, but it will be more piratable if there's more people able to pirate that stream. Because back then, the original pirates still had to pay a bunch of money to get it. So that's an important thing to mention. But what I do want to mention, speaking of legal things, is on this podcast, we have to talk about the things that are, relevant. And that is a very, very important Supreme Court case. Obviously, I'm talking about NCAA versus OU Board of Regents back in the 80s. Which was Ty. The start of OU being on the forefront of this media stuff.
I had my finger on that end broadcast button.
Jokes aside, this is a classic OU thing. And that's what I wanted to mention is back in the day, OU was the school. Georgia later jumped on and sort of assisted. And like I said, it went all the way to the Supreme Court with the Board of Regents of OU putting their foot down and saying the NCAA is not doing us any favors with the way that they are violating trust laws in their broadcast decisions. And that Supreme Court case was what really made modern college football and made it as profitable as it is and is such a business as it is and everything else. Really, you could even trace NIL to this. And I think it's so sensational because you can trace a direct lineage to things like NIL back to that Supreme Court case that I believe it was 1984. It was mid 80s. So, 30 plus years ago that occurred, or maybe less than, I don't really know math because I went to OU, but the downstream effects of this OU having the biggest one-off deal with ESPN Plus are going to continue to be seen for a long time. And it is important to note that this was announced as a lot of the details were kept kind of hush-hush. We didn't get a sort of an exact figure or anything like that. But what I did announce is that it is for sure going to be a multi-year deal. And it also is going to I'm not necessarily sure if terminate is the proper word to use, but it will, at the very least, change significantly upon OU's entry into the SEC. So if you really want to conspiracy theory read into a lot of the tea leaves there, maybe you could say that this deal is confirming, because obviously that was discussed in the deal, the SEC TV rights and everything else, because this deal is predicated on our Big 12 sort of conditions, that obviously an exact figure was discussed between OU and ESPN. So maybe this is indicating that we truly aren't going to see an OU move for a while to the SEC.
Yeah, no, and we've heard a lot of other people, kind of theorize that as well. I don't think it's a stake in the heart of that, because, let's be honest. What's so funny?
No, I just read yeah,
I got you. I don't think it finally it seals that our fate until 2025, because it's easy to negotiate with ESPN, who owns the SEC rights, and who knows, maybe this OU deal could be a benchmark where they have kind of mini channels for each SEC team with their own stuff, and that would be huge. That would be big time. But at the same time, I think there are tea leaves that could be read. I'm probably just being too optimistic about that move, but you never know. It could be a smokescreen. We'll see it. We'll see how it works out. The fact of the matter is, none of us really know what's going on in the OU athletic department at all. Even people who actually are close to it probably don't know. Nobody knew about OU in Texas moving to the SEC before that happened. So we'll see. But all I know is, for OU fans, this is a massive move. It does nothing but benefit the consumer, the fan, and it's something we should be really excited about, because this is a damn good athletic department, and we're really lucky to have it. So.
Yeah, I think
that's for sure. Let's talk about NIL deals. I'm sorry, Ty. You got one more thing to say?
No, I was just going to shoot off sort of a closing. It looked like you were working on something, so I'll let you take it.
Oh, yeah. I was saying let's get the ball moving. I feel like a lot of teams are going to be hopping on this ESPN Plus bandwagon too. But let's talk about NIL deal, because we got some big news that finally they're going to crack down on donors. Seems like they really want to get boosters in colleges, completely have parity between the two, because obviously we've seen that boosters are talking straight to the recruits, pooling together funds and making mega offers to these kids that are extremely hard to deny, and especially for kids that are already in college and enrolled at other schools. We saw ridiculous things about people trying to take away Xavier Worthy from Texas. And, we've seen all this Jordan Addison thing. And it seems like they're finally putting their foot down, put some good legislature and rules on this, where anything happened, they could put sanctions down on a college. So this isn't going to stop things at all, but people are going to be treading a little bit lighter now that there's actually some hard, rules put in place.
And one thing I found interesting in that, that press release from the NCAA was it looks like it's going to handle retroactive stuff, where pay for play is impacted, where recruiting is impacted. So the Pancake Club, oh no. They could come after the Pancake Club.
I was thinking about that, but let's be honest. They're saying we could go after retroactive things, so guys better be careful. Come on, we know the NCAA. You know how many things have went under the table even before NIL. You think they're going to go retroactive with all that stuff? I think that's just a bunch of smoke, honestly. We might see something, if they continue to break the rules moving forward, and then they can go back in the past, say, you've been doing this for a while and we knew about it, so we can charge you with the past things as well. But say if you just cut off and you've got clean, or you're not getting caught after this release statement, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, the NCAA doesn't care. Just look at Kansas basketball. They won a national title and are not, under the ground right now. Anyways.
Well, I think we can look at sort of things that have occurred and then are occurring as we speak, and really, I don't even want to say call the NCAA's bluff, but just prove that they're straight up bluffing. Some things that come to mind is, that Miami basketball player that straight up, I think he was a basketball player, correct?
Isaiah Wong, yes.
Yeah, they came out and said, I'm leaving here if I don't get more money, or I'm going to the place that offers us more money. Per the rules, the NCAA's rules with the NIL, it says that these things can't be tied to a particular school. Obviously, there's some sort of interpretation in there. Our laws in the U.S. are not binary by design. That's the purpose of a court system is nuance and interpretation. So, obviously, if you're at a big school and you can make more money, then maybe you get a deal that you don't elsewhere. But a sponsor technically can't say you get this money only if you go here. So it was really designed for, like, if you get a Gatorade sponsorship, or if you get a Beat sponsorship, shout out to Caleb Feet Williams, or if you get some other, like a Sharpie sponsorship or something like that. So there's definitely people have already overtly been ignoring the established rules to no consequence. So really, until someone is made an example of, which, but I don't think the NCAA has that power at this point, it's going to continue to happen. So I really don't think we're going to see any changes. I think we're going to continue to see the NCAA, yell out, but I don't think we're gonna see any real consequences from anyone, really.
Yeah, no, and it's you're right. It's probably just a warning shot to be like, hey, we're still here. You can't just run wild, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just, I worry that sponsorships and all this stuff, all this money, nobody wants to see all these ads and all that. It's ridiculous. But anyway, there's a quick word from our sponsors. DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm kidding. What's up?
Oh. No, I was going to say there's definitely more to it. The NIL is sort of that thing that everyone has latched onto, and it's purely money. And that's not necessarily, obviously there's tons of people complaining about the transfer portal as well. But it's really a matter of how you're going to regulate as we've seen with Lincoln Riley at USC and that Pitt player, the pretty overt and almost cheeky open recruitment of people that are at schools already. And money is not the only thing that motivates people, especially, the general demographic of college football players, young teen, early 20 guys. It's not always about money. It can be about clout, as the kids would say nowadays, or prestige, or becoming famous, or other things that motivate people. I'll leave that to everyone's imagination, because we're a sponsor friendly podcast. Shout out to Coors if you're looking for someone to sponsor, but there's definitely more to it than NIL. I don't think any of it is bad, as I've regularly stated. I love the lawlessness. So
fair enough. Well, Jameson, we've talked about this for a while. OU has had a quarterback room problem, a glaring kind of weakness. We talked about how Nick Evers probably isn't ready. And we didn't even want to talk about Micah Bowens or Ralph Rucker, of course, but it appears there's some depth on the way. And my guy, we're last name podcast, Davis Bevell, the Pitt quarterback who came in, almost saved the Peach Bowl for the Panthers before throwing a pick six, of course. But I don't know, Jameson, what do you know about this guy? What does he bring to OU? And is this good enough for you in terms of alleviating some of those depth issues at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting like a starter caliber player here. We've got to understand that. But watching the spring game, and obviously you take a little bit grain of salt with everything you see in that spring game, is Nick Evers, even though he's talented and we're hopeful in him, he did not get that much run in the grand scheme of things. We didn't see him as much nearly as like you saw Dylan Gabriel. And it's kind of seemed like Ralph Rucker was that number two. And even though Ralph Rucker is fun to talk about, it's not a guy that you don't like really want to move forward as a number two in a top-notch program in the country. Because what happens if Dylan Gabriel goes down? He's been injured in the past. Are we going to be putting our life into Ralph Rucker's hands? It would be fun to say on a podcast, but in reality, we could really plummet and have a really bad season. But if you start to get backup quarterback that has experience being a backup and is coming in and showed up somewhat on a big stage, that makes you feel a little bit better. He doesn't have that many stats in his career, but he played under, the top rated, highest drafted quarterback last year in Kenny Pickett. So he's got an experience being a backup quarterback versus a very, established quarterback. He knows the role and he came in and did well. That's all we need. This is not going to make us a better team. But if Dillon Gabriel did go down, I would feel a lot better about our team not going 6 losses on the season if we lost him, if we had, Ralph Rucker as a quarterback. But, Davis Beville makes me feel a little bit more safe.
Yeah, and even though he doesn't have a ton of burn, he does have experience of, coming in and relieving a guy, after an injury on the biggest stage, like you said. So I kind of like that. I like that, the guttiness that that he had out there. And he seems like he's shown a bit out there. He's a bigger guy. Not like you said, doesn't make us better. It's not like we just got like a Kyler Murray or someone legit to back us up. But frankly, this is the type of guy we expected we could get in the portal. Nobody's out here trying to be Dillon Gabriel's backup. So anyone, the more the better. He shared a quarterback room with Kenny Pickett, so maybe that helps as well. Who knows?
I'll say this. Hey, one thing before I move it over to you, Ty. Before that game in the Peach Bowl, he only threw 4 passes. So this guy isn't some high-end road warrior that's been through a lot. He's still not that experienced, but he's been there and done that, and that's something that none of the people in our quarterback room can say.
Yeah.
So I want to read you guys two sets of numbers. One is 6'6", 250. One is 6'6", 240. So that first set of numbers, 6'6", 250, is the Belldozer, Blake Bell's stats when he was at OU. We all know how that played out. And then 6'6", 250 is Davis Beville's stats. So while he might not be, if we're looking at an all-time starting, quarterback, he does add some sneaky options that we've seen from OU before. So don't discount that. Obviously, great to see a really big dude when it comes to presenting different threats to our starting defense when we're looking at teams that we're going to face down the road. He has some years of eligibility left, which is always a good thing. At the worst, he's buying us a year beyond Dillon Gabriel. Worst case scenario, assuming he stays. So, and then like you guys talked about, being in that Pitt quarterback room with Kenny Pickett, obviously the right things were happening there for Kenny Pickett to get the hype and the performance that he did. So I think there is absolutely nothing to complain about. And like you guys said, it was somewhere where we were very shallow with an already potentially injury-prone guy coming in as our lead, who's also left-handed, which can be a big factor when it comes to performance sometimes with receivers and just timing and play calling and everything, really, believe it or not. So I think he is an excellent ad, and I almost think that if you were to really sit down and look at people that were available or were realistic options, someone that is big, like this guy, with good stats, had a good, I almost want to say understudy or apprenticeship from somewhere, and is coming up and looking to prove himself. He's coming in truly thinking that he can win that starting job, which is great. 99% of the time. Obviously, there's that 1% chance that he turns into a situation where he leaves immediately with a lot of drama because he's not getting that starting job. But I think he's an excellent addition.
I don't think there's any way that they told him that you're going to come in and compete for the job. I think it's very clear that he knows that he's the backup quarterback. But I think he made a really strong point that I hadn't read yet, that he's a big body, 6'6", and he's got some weight on him. And that's great just for a practice squad. That's a really, really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Before we move on to a little bit more transfer portal stuff, there's a really interesting quote, or not quote, but comment. K-State picked to only win 6 games. Surely they hit the over. The over-unders for the Big 12 came out today. I'm a sucker for them K-State overs, but it always falls down to the non-conference. They have South Dakota, Missouri, and Tulane. Shout out my guy Mason for that comment. By the way, I don't know.
That's not that hard, honestly, of a non-conference schedule, really at all.
That's not that bad. That's pretty good. Tulane is kind of crap. South Dakota obviously crap. I could see them losing to Missouri, but I could see that being a good game too. It is in Manhattan, and of course with the my guy Chris Kleiman, masterclass off head coach, as I've always said, one of the goats. I think they got 6 down easy.
Skylar Thompson is gone after like his 9th year in college, though. He actually got drafted in the 7th round. Crazy to think.
Oh my god!
He got drafted in front of Brock Purdy. I'm putting that out there.
That's beautiful.
But is Will Howard their starting quarterback moving forward? Have they gotten somebody else?
I really hope,
think about.
I really hope not. That guy was horrible. Otherwise, that over 6 is doomed. But we'll see. That'll be fun. I'm excited for the over-under pod whenever that comes out. So, yeah. Anyways, let's move on. So, Jameson, the portal never truly ends.
Whoa, time out. We have to mention it. I know we have a whole podcast about it.
That's
in
okay.
2022, K-State gets a locket again. So I think that's a big factor. Sterling Lockett is a 2022.
New locket just dropped?
New locket dropping for K-State, I believe.
Well, they're gonna beat us.
You're right. It's definitely this year.
All right, we're screwed. New locket just dropped. Oh, you screwed. Thanks for the comment, Mason. Yeah. Anyways, James, so let's chit chat a little bit. What does OU need to hit in the portal now that probably our number one thing is gone? We needed that quarterback depth. What do we look for now? Do we delve into the wide receiver depths at all? Your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. It's wide receiver. That is the position that we're looking at the most. And we've seen it on social media, and then obviously people are talking on boards and stuff. But we had two recent visits from wide receivers. One, a name that we probably hadn't heard of that much in J.J. Hester, a wide receiver from Missouri. But one that also, for people who paid attention to recruiting, and I've probably talked about in recruiting corners in the past, is LV Bunkley Shelton. And if anyone remembers the name Darian Green Warren, he was the first recruit in recruiting class. I think it was 2018 or something. I don't remember. 2020 maybe. But he was a cornerback, and I'm pretty sure he committed on 4th of July when everyone else was committing, and he committed in a future class. And he was a big, story for us in recruiting. And one of his best friends was LV Bunkley Shelton. And LV was thinking he was going to be a Sooner for a bit, but the coaching staff didn't really like him, and they kind of moved on. But now here he's coming back, and we're thinking about taking him as a depth piece in this recruiting wide receiver room. But there's only one spot allegedly between the two. And I think J.J. Hester might have the nod between the two. He's a more bigger bodied wide receiver than LV. LV is more of a possession kind of wide receiver. I'm pretty sure that J.J. is like a 6'4", bigger bodied. And what that kind of is what fits more of what we need right now. We talk about Jaden Gibson, a guy that really showed, a lot in the spring game, but you don't want to be, feeling confident in a true freshman that's still working into his body. So Javion Hester, JJ Hester probably gets that spot if he wants it.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'm for it. Just that is a position where you can rotate guys in and out. Depth is good because just across the board, but wide receiver wise, that is one that, really, really helps, especially injury wise. Ty, what's up?
No, I was just going to say it would be, if I'm not mistaken, he will be the first ever receiver to ever transfer from Missouri to OU, which would be really neat.
Especially a big body wide receiver.
Yeah, a lot of people would be confused. A lot of people used to think that a guy named Dorial Green Beckham transferred from Missouri, but he actually only ever played OU. And if you don't believe me, check the Wikipedia.
Yeah, the sheeple at Wikipedia are trying to suppress the real information. We're the only podcast that'll tell you the truth.
That's funny. And the thing is, another thing going for JJ Hester is, Daniel Parker, teammate. So maybe that would help him in familiarity. And who wouldn't want to come in Jeff Levy's system, really? It's a huge appeal. And there's an open spot for a guy with his skill set in this offense. Like, other than Jaden Gibson, who are we talking about who's a bigger bodied wide receiver? Theo Weiss is probably the closest thing to it. But we just lost Jaden Hazelwood. Even though he wasn't as tall as JJ Hester, like he played like that. We don't have that in our offensive repertoire anymore. And I'm interested. So I say we take a run at it because we can play the slot all day with Stoops and Marvin Mims. But let's take a shot at a 6'4" wide receiver who's got a little bit of experience.
Yeah, size is good. Size is good for sure. So yeah, I'm for it. Yeah, we'll see what happens on the portal. It is always kind of a crapshoot, but yeah. So Ty, let's oh no. I'm not gonna lie. I almost made private chat's going off. I almost made a joke about it. Glad we didn't. There was definitely a joke in there about a former wide receiver who would just love to come in that offense. He just loves coming in general. But moving on.
Spencer Rattler in the bathroom stall.
I was thinking more around like 2012. 5-star type guys.
I know. I was joking.
Oh yeah. It parking lots, etc. Anyways, so Ty, the coaching caravans are back. You got any information on those for us, buddy?
So exciting news. If you guys aren't familiar, OU has traditionally done, I don't know the dates that it's run, but we stopped doing it in 2018, and it was a thing called the Coaches Caravan, and it's where we sent our head football coach as the headliner and several other coaches to go around to different cities. And it basically, I don't even think it's a fundraising event. I think you do have to pay for tickets, but I think most of the money goes to just hosting the event. And it's really about interacting with the people of various cities. And I think it's super awesome that OU has brought it back this year, obviously headlining at every stop, Brent Venables, with various other OU coaches and personalities making appearances. So they started the other day in Tulsa at the Canes Ballroom. Joe Consiglione was there, Brent Venables, Peter Moser, and a host of other OU personalities. So super exciting. It's almost a press conference or a dinner where you get speeches, you get sort of an open questions, your tickets, which are $40 to $50 depending on venue, pay for food, drinks, and a general good time, and a more intimate setting to interact with a whole host of different people. So I think that is exciting news, and I want to bring it up for those that aren't aware, because surprisingly, OU and the local media have done sort of a poor job at disseminating this information. So if you are interested and have 100 or so to drop on you and one other, or if you just want to go solo to these events, they are hosting. There's one in Amarillo right now, which is really cool, and we want to touch on that reach that OU is sort of expanding, and that's super cool to have our head coach and other head coaches going out to different cities, especially in Texas, which we consider a home recruiting grounds, and just doing a general event, not going for a specific person, but just going out and interacting with whoever wants to go interact with our people. So they're in Amarillo as we speak. Actually, it just kicked off about an hour ago. They're going to Duncan on the 12th, Houston on the 17th at, I believe, the Rustic Uptown in Houston. They're going to Dallas to the Rustic in Dallas on the 19th. They're going to Wichita, which I hear is in Kansas, on the 24th. And then on the 26th, they're coming back to OKC. That event is $50. It'll be at the Omni, but your ticket does include drinks. So something really cool to look at. And more importantly, I think it's something really cool that we are reinvesting in as a university, and getting our head football coach out there and interacting with the people, and not being too good for sort of anything, and just going out there and really taking the show on the road. I mean, it's a coaching caravan. So really exciting to see that sort of investment from our coaching staff, from our athletic department, and that buy-in from the people that are selling out these events. So I think that's really cool, and something that we definitely want to bring up, because as we continue to beat on this offseason on the culture that we're trying to change and really invigorate our players, our fan base, our donors, everyone involved. So really cool to see that coming back.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, I'm not going to say it was because of Lincoln Riley, but I'm just saying coincidentally, it did immediately die the second that he had his full year as head coach. So, yeah, this is kind of clearly a Brit thing, I would say. Very excited to have it back. I think it's big for the fan base, especially in places, kind of more out there like Wichita, Houston, Amarillo. Shout out Laura Gadberry. I know she's done a lot to help with that out there in Amarillo. But yeah, it's just one of those things that's really helping build OU as a bigger base across the board. And that's just awesome. And not only that, but I think it just kind of shows the type of all-in mindset they've been preaching, where it's like, it's not just, the players, the coaches, the staff. It's not even just the people who live in Oklahoma City and Norman. It's you go to the games, the 75,000 who are able to do that. It's everyone. And, really, showing that and showing love to the whole region is, I think, really awesome. Making OU football and OU athletics as a whole, a real force in this region. So I think that's very exciting, very awesome, definitely big time. And I'm not gonna lie, I'd be down to go to Oklahoma City one. It's up the Omni. That sounds pretty fun. I'd for sure be down. Jameson, go ahead.
Oh, I did want to touch on real quick. I understand, $40 to $50 per place. The big cities are $50 is a lot, but you're saving that money on that pay-per-view game. So you could get ESPN Plus for 1 month, watch the game for $7, spend $50 to go to the Omni with drinks included, and get FaceTime with Brent Venables, where you can directly ask him a question. I believe Consiglione is also at that one, and save $3. So who would want to do that?
Well,
what kind of drinks?
I think it depends on the venue. Probably a standard, little cup beer wine type thing. But
yeah, but if it's unlimited, then you can keep going back for little cups.
Look, if you're just looking for cheap drinks, then obviously there's better options.
Options than a $50 ticket. Yeah, but cheap drinks and Brent Venables? Come on. That's pretty great. That could be fun. Anyways, I love it. Jameson, you about that caravan life? I definitely have a really good picture of me and Bob Stoops from when I was like 5, where I don't know if y'all have seen it. Y'all have seen it. It's pretty great. But Jameson, your thoughts on does this do anything for us?
I mean, good for them, honestly. I don't really have much more to say other than what we already said. Just more outreach, just being cooler people than, reserved and paranoid Lincoln Riley. But other than that, I mean, I really don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much good. But Ty, anything you want to say before we head out of here?
Final notes on the show, little teaser, set the scene, not even an appetizer because we're a little bit too far out, but a little exciting teaser. I have no idea how I even stumbled on this interview, but SEC commissioner, we all know OU's going to the SEC at some point, Greg Sankey has announced straight up that his vision and the plan that's going to be enacted for the SEC when Oklahoma and Texas inevitably arrive, whether that be whatever date that might be. He has said that they're expanding the SEC in a way where teams will regularly play each other, was the quote that he used. And that was in reference to the different divisions, however that is divided up. So currently the SEC is seeing 7 years max between teams playing in the regular season. So that's obviously with the East and West division, teams will see, I guess, I feel like it's more than that, but they're claiming 7 years is the most between a West team facing an East team. They're trying to get that down to maybe every 2 years for certain rivalries or different teams, and then at a max of 4 years. So what that means for OU when we inevitably arrive is that we're going to get to see some really neat matchups pretty frequently. So, maybe that cheapens the experience, but I don't think so. If you're looking at a home and home thing, home and home, let's say OU's playing Florida, one of the ones I'm really excited about, and there's a 4-year gap in there. That's, starting at game day, let's say we play at OU, then you're looking at 4 years until we go play at Florida, and then another 8 years until we're back in Norman playing that team. So I think it's a really exciting thing, something to just sort of wet your whistle and get you excited for things that are to come.
Yeah, and I mean it even before adding OU and Texas, that has been a massive issue for SEC teams. Like I believe A&M's never been to Athens yet, which is just completely wild because they share a conference, but what are you gonna do? So I mean, I guess that's what you do. You make it a pod system. You make it a way where you have more breadths of more type of opponents. You expand the breadth of that more. So I'm excited for it because I would be really bummed if OU never went out to Florida or never went out to Athens and we're just sitting around waiting to go to the Grove. Like that'd be a massive bummer. So hopefully all that works out in that way. And I love it because that's one of the things I'm most excited about with the SEC is getting to see all these different places, and I think it's gonna be really fun. So we'll do a lot more podcasts on what we're excited about with the SEC as the offseason progresses and we have less and less to talk about. But so that ends our podcast for this week. I don't know what we'll do next time. Josie kind of dropped us a real good lifeline there. Same with our guy Jeff Levy, but we'll see. College football's wild. And hey, Jameson, softball's kicking into gear. The regular season's over. It's tournament time.
Oh boy, here we go.
Women's College World Series is running up. OU baseball's looking good. They beat TCU in a series.
Top 25.
Top 25. Look, the stickball games are going great. So maybe we'll have we'll try to pivot a little to talk about that. We don't really know jack about those sports really too well, other than hit ball good. But hey, we know the Women's College World Series is a blast in OKC, and the Big 12 tournament, Oklahoma City, RIP, used to be incredible. But now it's in Arlington, so that's a bummer. Anyways, done rambling. But appreciate you two for coming on and talking a little OU football with us, and and I appreciate all of y'all for listening to us chit chat. We got a pretty good live viewing audience on our Facebook, on our YouTube, a little bit on Twitter. Love to see it. Love the comments, and if you want to watch us, go check us out there. If you're watching us and want to listen to us in your car, maybe you don't want to sit down and watch us for 45 minutes. Hey, pop us on wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever. We're there. So, you have all of your options to listen to us throughout the off season. Anyways, I'm done talking for real this time. On behalf of me, Jameson, and Ty, this has been the Schooner Pod. We'll see you next time. Boomer Sooner, everybody. Oh no, I pressed the wrong button.